working.
Hi everyone, welcome to our live stream today to talk about the 2021 executive elections for the union. I'm Mohammed, I'm the DSU governance coordinator, and this is Molly.
I'm Molly, I'm the student voice manager, and our roles in the elections are election officials.
So we make sure that the elections run properly, we make sure you guys are supported, you have all the right resources you need for a successful campaign, and giving you hints and tips on how to campaign better, and also making sure that you're well versed with all the rules and regulations so that you can make your campaign a success. We also do things like candidate briefing sessions and manifesto workshops and things to make sure that your whole process is easy and you enjoy it. And we're here also as like the friendly face of the election to make sure that you enjoy the process and feel supported.
Fabulous. So every year we run in our elections to elect our student leaders of the union. The union is an independent charity, and it's completely led by students. They sit on our trustee board. So I'll hand over to Mohammed to, I don't know if it's time to answer some questions or whether we'll give an overview of some of the positions available.
So we have 5 full-time executive positions, which are the academic executive, the student engagement and opportunities executive, the equality and diversity executive, the welfare executive, and the union development executive. Each of these full-time executives focus on their area of work and remit and make sure that they're representing student views on high-level university meetings, making sure that they're running campaigns in their remits, making sure that student voice is heard, making sure that at every point students are empowered to make sure your journey throughout university is the best it can be, and wherever you need support or the university needs to do more, these are your voices there to make sure that the university is listening to your voice. We also have 7 part-time liberation roles, which are there for representing underrepresented groups and liberation groups such as mature students, LGBTQ plus students, women students, the international students, postgraduate students, disabled students, and also BAME students. And these are part-time roles, so these you can do alongside your studies. So the commitment is around 2.5 hours a week, but we'll get into more details when we look at questions and answer your questions as well. So feel free to send in any questions you have, anything that you're unsure about or you want to ask us. This is your opportunity to ask those questions. It's very cliche, but nothing's a silly question. We want to hear all your questions, no matter how whatever they are, and we'll try our best to answer them so that you have a fuller picture going into the election.
Fab. So we've got our first question. Are full-time positions paid? I was gonna hand over to Mohammed then, but I'll answer it. Yes, the full-time positions are paid. It is a requirement that you're in work sort of full-time, 37 hours a week. Therefore, the paid positions and you get sort of annual leave, and you are members of staff. So it is a full-time job. If you are thinking of considering kind of going for a nomination in your second year, you'll have to make sure that you're able to do a interruption, but we can support you with that. And the job descriptions are on the website as well. So if you go to www.demonforsu.com/vote, you'll be able to see the job descriptions and the salary and the annual leave entitlement.
And just to add to that the salary pays really well, so it pays much better than most graduate jobs. It's around £21,000, so it's a full paid job. Like Molly mentioned, if you're a current student, you'll need to take a gap year if you're still in term in September. But if you are graduating this summer, so if you've got a July graduation and you don't know what you're doing next, you still can run for this role, and you can take up the role as soon as you graduate in July. So it's a fantastic way to carry on your next journey from being a student to transitioning into the world of work whilst staying involved with your union and university.
I have never ran in an election before. Will we get any support? Mohammed's your man for this.
So, like I mentioned earlier, throughout the whole journey, we're here to support you. So we have sessions like the candidate briefing, where we go through all the rules and regulations to make sure that you understand them all and you're well versed with them. So at the same time, we do a lot of sessions like manifesto training workshops. We have you can always contact us with any questions you have, and we're always here to support you. So a lot of people who run in these elections every year are people who've never ran for any other post before as well. So feel free to ask us any questions you have about the election or process either today, or you can even email us on voice@dmu.ac.uk and ask us those questions as well if you think of something at a later date. But you will be supported. You won't be left alone. And if you've never done election before, if you've never ran in an election before, this is your chance to learn loads of skills which you can transfer into many different things you do. So you can take it into the world of work or other projects you do or everything. It's a very good way to learn different skills which you previously wouldn't have.
Definitely. Lots of transferable skills.
We've got a question in from Katie Hobbs. What does it mean to be a trustee? I'll let Molly answer that one.
So a trustee is a really important role in charity, and it is a decision-making role. It is really important to make sure that you are able to think strategically, to be fair, and to make sure that you're doing what's best for the charity as a whole. As an executive, you have various different hats. Sometimes it's a student representative role. Sometimes it's looking at kind of actual charity law and actually what's the best place for this charity at this instance. So I don't know whether it's worth bringing in one of our current sort of outgoing execs to talk about their experience of being a trustee, because it's a really unique role. And as staff members, we don't sort of have the sort of lived experience that our current execs do. So if I bring Dia in to just talk about her role as a trustee, because I think it'll be really unique insight.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me? Amazing. Yeah, so talking about being a trustee, I think that's one of like almost the hidden roles of being an executive, which I think almost comes secondary to being an executive, but is actually so important and vital in how we operate as a union and as an institution. So we usually, please don't kill me if I get this number wrong, but I believe it's 12 trustees that govern our SU, 5 of the executives, then we have some student trustees and external trustees. And it's just a really cool way to get student voices really heard at the highest possible level of what we do as an institution, but to really get that expertise in as well from our external trustees. It's being a trustee is all about essentially making those decisions right at the very top, and it goes beyond the day-to-day, and we're talking about actually where do we spend XYZ money, or how should we be moving forward, what are our strategies. And it's a real executive role, which is something that I never would have been kind of lucky enough to kind of, I think, without kind of saying it in a horrible way, but we are so blessed to kind of be able to do this in your first year of graduating, or even through a gap year. If you're kind of looking at the career ladder, you're not going to be, this is the very highest rung essentially. So it's really cool to kind of get that insight in, and it definitely makes my head inflate to the size of about that big. And it's always fun being the boss for a few hours, but you know, but I think that kind of sums up a trustee role. There's a lot more to it, but you'll definitely pick it up as you go along. It's always fast paced, but I think the support you get from Mohammed, Molly, and everyone in the SU is just phenomenal. I think you guys will be absolutely fine. So don't worry about it.
Definitely. And I just add to that is that you get trustee training once you're elected in as well. So it is that kind of development that Adia was talking about in terms of sort of that elevated kind of responsibility in running a charity and governing a charity. So yeah, fabulous. So how will the elections work this year amidst the pandemic compared to last year? It's a really interesting question. Great photo as well. So I'll let Mohammed cover some of the changes we've had to make this year, and some of the kind of tweaks that we've done to try and make it still as engaging and still a good experience for our candidates and voters.
Thank you. So the main thing at the forefront of anything is the safety and security of our students and our staff. So in line with government COVID-related protocols and standard operating procedures, we've decided this year with the approval of the trustee board that we're going to move the elections online. So there won't be physical polling booths like you may have seen if you were with us last year or the years before, where you could come into the campus and vote. And whilst we're very sad that that won't be happening this year, because we used to love having all the interaction with hundreds and thousands of students over the voting week, I think it's very important that for the safety and security of all our students, because of the pandemic and the current situation, we're moving the election online, so students can log in through the union website and vote in a safe environment from their own homes. And that's one of the biggest takeaways this year, that we're having to move the elections online for the safety of students. And we want to make sure that whilst the experience is enjoyable for you, it's also safe, and we're not putting anyone at risk or excluding anyone who may be shielding or something and may want to run for one of these positions. So we want to keep it inclusive as well.
Definitely. And I think the experience for candidates, we're also really considering. So people who put themselves forward, ready to campaign, they'll be used to going out, meeting students. This campaigning opportunities will be moved online, so we'll be looking at doing live hustings, Q&As with candidates. They'll be submitting questions kind of online in a written format. We're also looking at making sure that the well-being of our candidates is looked after as well during this sort of online voting, because I know that it really does shift kind of priorities. You know, when the polling stations close, candidates can go home and relax. And so we're still having closed polling stations, and voting won't be open sort of past 7 o'clock. And we will be making sure that our voting period is controlled. And there'll also be well-being tips as well as a poster gallery online, so that all of this will hopefully feel like an election, but in a safe format during the pandemic. I think there will be some massive changes, and we have had to alter some of the rules around what we don't tolerate in terms of online communication, so making sure that everyone is campaigning with kindness and adhering to our rules and regulations. So there's a lot of changes, but it will all be explained in candidate briefings if you put yourself forward. And yeah, it should be an exciting time, because myself and Mohammed have never done an online election, so let's see how it goes. This is definitely Mohammed's question.
So that's a great question. Manifestos are something people always ask about, because sometimes people haven't written one, or it's just such a daunting word to start off with. You think that, what's a manifesto? What does it have to be? Manifestos are very simple and straightforward. It's a way of you telling the voters who you are. So you've got 300 words to paint a story about who you are, what your experiences are, what makes you good for the role, what you want to achieve in the role, what you want to change, and why people should vote for you. So you can keep it as simple and straightforward as you'd like. It's about you connecting with those students who will be voting for you. They want to read and understand who you are. Some of them have never met you before, but they're willing to give you a chance and vote for you. So they want to know what you bring to the table and what your vision is. So it's your chance to pretty much advertise your ideas and your beliefs and your thoughts and your goals and aspirations for the union. We've also put tips on our website. So if you go to the Demand for SU website, there's a banner which will take you to a page which has some tips and tricks for writing a good manifesto. And if you still have some more questions, you can drop us a question at voice, and we'll try to steer you in the right direction as much as we can in terms of writing a good manifesto.
Definitely. I'd add in there that one of my favorite is reading all the slogans every year. So thinking about a catchy slogan is always a good kind of tip for your manifesto to really summarize who you are and your ambitions. I think Elgin would want me to say that he had Choose Hughes, which Elgin's second name is Hughes, so it's a catchy slogan that helps people remember you. But yeah, check out the top tips. How much scope is there within your role to actually implement change within the SU? I think, again, I'll probably bring in an exec potentially. I think maybe Laura would like to come in to answer some of the changes that she's been working on. It's integral to the student union and higher education and the university to have student leaders and to be able to really, there's a lot of scope, but it's about being proactive, making sure you've got the right planning and ambition. So I'll hand over to Laura to talk about some of her stuff at the minute.
Hello, everybody. If you don't know me already, my name's Laura, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm the academic executive. So within the academic remit, the university does rely quite heavily on me and on my network to students to actually sort of make that change. So if many of you were here earlier on last year with the no detriment policy, it was the student voice that informed that, and that was a massive academic win. And we're currently working on a safety net at the moment informed by the student voice as well. So depending on your individual roles, there's a big difference you can have. But I see Amber's asked within the students union, as a trustee, that you can also make a massive change as well, because you are the head of the organisation. So any reasonable change, you have the power to be able to do so. So yeah, I think that covers that question, but feel free to ask again if there's anything else specifically.
That's amazing, Laura. Thank you so much. It's one of those, it's a really exciting opportunity to really build projects and shape change. I think with every change process, we do kind of risk assessments to all the changes. So they have to be well thought out, properly planned, but there is a lot of scope with proper planning and support. So yes.
Just to add to that, your role also includes a position on the student council, so that's where you bring policies as well. So there's all sorts of ways of making change, whether that's through campaigns or through council and policy as well. So yeah, if you've got ideas to change the union, get involved.
Definitely. One of the recent policies that have been brought in is an environmental sustainability policy. So it is a fantastic opportunity. Sorry, moving on to the next question. Can you nominate for more than one position, e.g. a liberation role and an executive role? No, is the answer. The only additional role that you can nominate yourself for is an NUS position, and this gives you an opportunity to go to the NUS conference and talk about national issues, network with other students. So if you are looking at going for a role, I would advise you to book a meeting with Mohammed or myself at voice@dmu.ac.uk to really suss out what role is appropriate for you. So you have to choose between every position. You can only put yourself for one position in the exec in any of the roles. Does that make sense? I feel like I confused that. I'm not a political person. Will I struggle in elected roles? Mohammed, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, of course. No, of course not. Whilst the roles and the election process sounds political with a small p, it's not it's not something that's just suited for political people. If you're not political at all you need to succeed in these roles is a passion for making a change and a passion for representing students, and that's all that matters. You don't have to be political. It's just about having a vision and an aspiration for moving the union forward and making sure that your fellow students are listened to. And as long as you've got some great ideas of wanting to make a change, which you must have picked up through your experience as a student, which you think that, maybe these things don't work right, and if I could change things to make my experience at university better or my friends' university experience better, I would have changed this. This is your opportunity to make those changes. So it's not a political, whilst it sounds like a political process with elections and everything, no one's expecting you to be like a full political geek. If you are, that's a brilliant thing. But if you aren't, it's still a role that's very open for you, and you should go for it.
Definitely. I think Mohammed said sort of passion and care is probably the two biggest attributes. So don't worry about the political, not being a political person. How does one campaign? Well, in previous years, our students have campaigned out on campus with posters, going out and talking to students, explaining about their manifesto, having printed kind of leaflets about what they stand for, what their aims would wanted to do. But this year is slightly different. So we are looking at how we can tailor kind of our campaign support. So myself and Mohammed are looking at doing a guidance for how to campaign online and how to campaign online safely. We are going to have an online gallery forum for you to signpost to, upload your digital graphics, your creative posters for your vision, and that will link to your manifesto page. There'll also be Q&As. These are called hustings, but actually it's just an event where students can come along and ask candidates questions. All these opportunities won't be kind of compulsory, but we'd really advise you to get involved in them. It's a really exciting opportunity. It's the first time we've had to move everything online. It'll be similar to this, but with sort of candidates in each position being able to answer some questions. There'll also be kind of digital written formats where students could submit questions and candidates can give written answers. So there'll be lots of different opportunities, but it will be a very different experience this year to previous years of campaigning, of making posters, and we've had previous candidates bring in kind of boom boxes and the library telling us off for being too loud. It's a very different time on campus. So there'll be no physical posters, and we won't be promoting students to go out and talk to other students. So, oh yeah, and superhero outfits. That's another thing. We've had lots of creative fancy dress. But I think there are opportunities to be creative still on an online world. So we can support with visa applications. I think Aisha is available to talk about this question from personal experience.
Thank you for that, Molly. I hope everyone can hear me okay. But the visa process is absolutely simple. It's nothing you have to worry about because it wouldn't be a tier 2 visa. It'd be just an extension of your tier 4 visa. So being a sabbatical officer would basically come out as you're taking a course for a year. So you can use the same procedures that you have done previously. There's support available from DSU itself, so you're not on it by yourself. So yeah, that's nothing to worry about if that's something that's holding you back. Because I have done this for the past 2 years. I've got 2 extensions on my visa, so that's about it.
I would agree that it can be quite daunting, but the support is available. And if you've got any specific sort of visa questions, just drop us an email and we can support you in kind of answering any queries with regards to that. But thank you, Aisha, that was really useful.
So the question is, can you just run for NUS? Of course you can. You can run just for NUS if you want to. That's completely fine. And in the past, people have done that as well. So, yep, if you want to run just for NUS, feel free to go for it. So the question is international officer a different role, or is it part of the union development executive? So the two roles are different. The international officer is a liberation officer role. It's a part-time role. So you can do this alongside your studies. You can do this alongside any part of your course. The requirement is only 2.5 hours, but because it's a part-time role, it's an unpaid voluntary role. The union development executive is a full-time role. So like Molly mentioned earlier, it's one of those which, if you're a current student who is still in the process of your studies, you would have to take what they call an interruption, or previously known as a gap year. And if you're graduating this summer, then you would take the role on after your graduation. But the Union Development Executive is a full-time paid position. The International Officer is a part-time liberation role, which is unpaid and voluntary. The time and commitment for both are different. The Union Development requires a full-time commitment of like you would have a 9-to-5 job, very similar to that. That's how the commitment is. Whilst the Liberation Officer role is the commitment for it is just 2.5 hours a week on average, because you'll have some meetings some week which may be a few more, and some weeks you may have less. So it's an average of 2.5 hours, but you can do it alongside your studies. You
Yeah, I
wouldn't
was going to say, they cover different remits as well. So an international officer looks specifically at representing international students, and the Union Development Officer looks at representing the union as a whole. So looking at how we can improve as a union, how our services can improve as a union, as well as kind of representing the union as a whole at key meetings, or externally if there's any sort of press kind of needs. So I think the role and our Union Development Executive also is the head of sort of our exec committee. So it is slightly different, even in kind of the way the kind of remit that they cover.
Is it true if you lose an election, you can't run again? No, absolutely not. If you aren't successful and you're still a student next year, you can try again. Also, throughout the year, we have other opportunities. So you can do things like you can become a course rep. We have elections for course reps. We have elections for student council and zones. So always keep an eye out. There's loads of opportunities to get involved. And obviously, with the election process, you have some candidates who become successful in some roles. You have some candidates who don't. But that shouldn't make you feel that you put off from it. And there's no barring. You won't be barred from not running again. Whether you've won or you've not won, you still can run again.
So the question is, when do roles start and end? Why are elections so early in the year? What about January start students? I think in terms of the January start students, it is a real challenge that we have. And we do look at trying to engage them sort of in other opportunities throughout the year. We start our elections so early because we have quite long voting times and nomination times, to make sure that there's a good duration for students to get involved. They're on campus, they're here, and just in time for the summer, so that we can train the successful candidates through the summer so they're best prepared for September starts. I'll let Mohammed talk about the roles, duration and the terms, so when the kind of contracts start and end. But just I wanted to sort of summarize kind of January starts. It is a problem that we have in terms of capturing every single student. But in terms of our term year, it's just really important that we get everyone sort of elected in time for our summer training.
So the roles start in July and go on for a duration of 12 months to July. So it's usually at the end of when graduations have finished. So it's near to the end of July, and it goes on for 12 months. And yeah, I think Molly's covered the rest of it. So yeah, that's.
Any more information that's needed can be found on the website, or you can drop us an email at voice.
So when do nominations close? So nominations are already open, and they close on 15th of February at 11:59 at night. So you've got just under 2 and a bit weeks. And the bar at the bottom, the scrolling text thing, is showing you the date and time of when nominations close. Nominations are very simple to do. So if you're thinking about nominating yourself, it's a very simple process. You don't have to put your manifesto and stuff at the time of nomination. You can always come back to it at a later date. So you can put your nomination in and then work on your manifesto and upload it later. So it's not like you have to do it all in one go or you can't nominate yourself.
Yes, fabulous. So now we're going to bring in our outgoing executives. So they are still in position. They were elected this last year, and they are going to give some insight into their experience. So I'm going to bring them in now. If Aisha, Dia, and Laura can join us.
Makes it so sad saying outgoing.
I know.
I know, Molly, how can you say outgoing with your chest as well? Outgoing executive.
We are
Not
still
even-
here.
Not even like a tear coming down your face. Fine.
Oh, I am that. No, I am that.
But yeah, hello guys. Ask us anything you guys want.
Yeah.
We've been in the role. All three of us have done it for 2 years now, but Aisha and I have run for 3 years in a row. Laura has been on a campaign team for 3 years in a row, right? So
Yeah.
we are definitely veterans at this.
That's probably quite an interesting point that you've just picked up on there. We talked about campaigning earlier and how different it is going to be this year. But you could talk about your campaigning experience of being part of a campaign team. That would be quite interesting, I think, from a kind of lived experience kind of perspective. Obviously, Aisha's giggling.
I'm fine.
I mean, I'm not going to quote your slogan.
What?
Isn't it? Anyway, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you.
Who wants to go first?
You can go first,
Laura.
Laura.
Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. I think probably looking back. So my first election round, as Dia said earlier, I was in a campaign team for one of my friends who was actually running against both Dia and Aisha. So interesting mix. But that year, a lot of our time was trying to do sort of like speaking to a lot of students and speaking to our course. And I think that is the key thing when running in elections. I know obviously this year it's a lot harder to sort of get out and talk to people, but I'd really advise you to utilise what you've got online, utilise your own networks, utilise your own friends to go forward. In previous years, I have done banners and posters and things. I always capitalised on my surname, even though I felt that was sort of a little bit cheeky to do. But because my surname is Flowers, that's already sort of like a graphic and something memorable there. So if you've got something about you that people can sort of like remember you by and is sort of interesting, go for that. Aisha, I'm going on to you. Yeah,
I knew.
because I want you to speak about this superhero thing.
Lovely. So, in my first year, I was running for the part-time position women's rep, and I'm like, you know what's gonna get everyone's attention if I do a really good poster, which I will show you in a bit. So I'm thinking, what's a really iconic poster about, women and empowering women? And then it came to me. It's Rosie the I can't say the name right, but it's Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah.
Yes. And I recreated the whole poster, and I had it printed in size A0, which is almost the same size as me, and had it up on the SU wall building, probably on the SU glass wall building, and everyone knew who that posters was. It was bright yellow. It had my name on big writing and what position I was running for. That's what really got me going. And in my second year, I kind of carried on the cosplay, and Wonder Woman was quite big at that time. So I decided to dress up as Wonder Woman, and my slogan was #with Wonder Woman. I will show you my posters once I find them, but that was quite memorable. And I did the same thing again, printed like massive posters and asked my friends to help me stick it up because it was, yeah. But apart from that, posters are great. In our third year, I think what really worked for us is having mini leaflets, which I'm sure Dia and Laura will speak about, but mini little leaflets that you could hand out. But I don't know how useful it would be this year. So
I think the main thing I remember about your election, the year I first met you, met you properly, which was the year that I was running as well. So your Wonder Woman year, the main thing I was just thinking, isn't she cold? Because it was March. And I think that's something that's positive about this year being online, is that nobody nobody is going to be freezing outside this year. Well, this year that we got elected back in, we were all sort of like bundled up. I had multiple layers on, a big coat, a big hat in the rain.
I remember
Um,
Dia getting drenched in the rain on the last day of elections last year, but she never gave up.
I didn't give up, but I did catch a cold.
Yes. So,
And it was
okay,
absolutely worth it.
no one laughed, but here's the
We didn't laugh.
example. Thanks, I love
That's
Molly's
really good,
approval.
Aish.
It's a very good poster. It's just
Thank
that I
you.
know you, and it is funnier because I know you.
But at that time, you didn't know me, Dia.
No, we did not. Maybe I knew you too well, Aisha.
Did you though? One
So,
thing I
oh my
would
God.
say.
Oh,
Carry on,
I
you
was just
carry
going
on.
to say, like, the one thing we've completely missed out on is we're talking about this and we're using all our inside jokes. Elections have like given me friends for life. Like Aisha and Laura, like that's it. They're my ride or dies. Like me and Laura were like there for Aisha's wedding, and they might be there for mine. We'll see. We'll see if it ever happens. But like they are genuinely my best friends. Like hand on my heart, and like that only happened through elections. Like I think all of us, when we first got elected, there was a lot of like, oh, I don't know. Like I had seen Aisha campaigning around the last year. We were competitors. I was campaigning against Kate, who Laura was on a campaign team. So we all were like a bit like, wary, blah, blah, blah. And then we got into the role and we literally just got on like house on fire. And I think that is just not spoken about enough. I think without being an executive, I would have like missed out on two of my bestest friends ever to bless my life, Molly and Mohammed.
Good timing.
And I wanted to
How about some online tips? Have you got any kind of? I know you think it's going to be a massive challenge for our current candidates, but have you got anything that you could say kind of it might be a good idea for them to do? I know you do a lot of online stuff at the minute. Is there anything creative that you've really enjoyed doing or you found really effective?
Can I take this one? Can I go?
Go.
Sorry. Do you know what? It's only because, like, you guys know me. Look at me. Look at everyone else so nicely dressed, and here I am in just my hoodie that I've been wearing the entire night, just like typing away. I am the laziest person in the world. So if you thought back in year one I was going to go out on campus and campaign, you were having a laugh. I did all of my campaigning like online until like the final few days. So like online was something that was such a key part of the way me and my slate campaigned, because it's easy, it's free, and it reaches out to the most amount of people. And we did everything from like creating Facebook banners and making sure everyone in our friendship group was like wearing their friendship banners on their Facebook and making them their profile pictures. We were like creating QR codes and allowing people to scan them. We had pictures that we were ready to like, anyone that had their airdrop open to everyone. I was sending them my manifesto, like, and I was literally just sending it, and it was so much that came from it. It was, doing live streams like this. I made an entire Facebook just for campaigning, and I was just adding, and I was like talking to students because I was not bothered to go out and talk to them in person. Also, 2 years ago, I was like the most socially awkward person you would have met. Like, I was not good at doing anything like this or anything like that. So I would literally just Facebook with, hi, I'm Dia, I'm running to be this. Is there anything you would want to talk to me about? And it really picked up traction. There are 27,000 people in this university, and you're going to be able to talk to people online a lot faster than you are in person. So really capitalize on that. I was making, like, Laura had a whole Instagram, and we were like making memes and taking the piss out of ourselves and making music videos, and like it's all just a bit of fun. TikTok.
Our TikToks were so fun. Yeah, I'd encourage TikToks.
Yeah,
I love TikToks. I think also one of the things that I did a couple of years ago was Dia sort of touched on it, is create sort of like a campaign group I made this on Facebook, and I had sort of like the people who I knew on there, but then I also asked them to add their friends, and then asked them their friends, and then before you knew it, you had all of your supporters in one place, so you could sort of like share your manifesto and the things you wanted to sort of run on, and sort of making people more aware of your name, and also encouraging them to vote, because I think that is also the main thing, is if you're the person to sort of like go on, tell them vote, look at my manifesto, you've got a pretty good chance.
Yeah. I'll add one more tip from my end, and I think it might be biased coming from me and my role, but societies, do not sleep on them. They are online, they all have Instagrams, they all have websites, they all have emails. Get in touch with them, ask them to endorse you. They're a
Such
great
a good
network
point.
to tap into.
Just make sure you're doing that in a fair way.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had a question come through, I think, which is, can they ask what NUS is?
Yeah.
Of course.
NUS stands for the National Union of Students. Laura, you go for it.
Okay, I will take it. So the National Union of Students is a massive campaign body across the UK, and what it does, it sort of organises students' unions across the country. So we're members of the students' union of the NUS, sorry, for national action. So stuff that the NUS is working at the moment is sort of like regarding tuition fees, regarding rent nationally. So to be an NUS delegate, as I think we mentioned earlier on, and probably what you're referencing, is you're part of this big conference where you elect their leaders, you vote on policies that you want them to work on, and it's a really empowering place to go to and people to talk to. So if you want to run for that, I really encourage you to do so. Does anyone else have anything they want to add onto that? I think I covered it all.
I think you covered all. It's a great place for you to get more of an insight on how other institutions work, how different people are handling the same situations. For example, how different universities or unions are handling the COVID situation, because it's so different for everyone. You can share tips, ideas, and also make friends and important links.
Definitely. There has been another question as well. What has been the most intense part of your role?
Ooh,
That's a good question.
that's an intense question.
That's an intense photo, Amber. Look, this job is like phenomenal. The amount of stuff you guys get to do is so fun. But I'm gonna say it, the most intense part is freshers. Like, let's be honest, freshers is just so chaotic. There's so much going on. I was the student, I was the one running the events, and then I was going to the events, and then I was enjoying, like, it is so fun. Like, I was getting to talk to students non-stop. I was like in the nightclub, I was like enjoying all the coffee bar crawls and XYZ. It was so fun. So intense, definitely, but fun, 100%. Like, it's wicked, and you get to share it out and have all this fun with your best friends or enemies, if we're talking about Aisha, and it's absolutely been worth it. I think the only other thing that is as stressful is the actual campaigning, because that's when you're that bundle of like nerves of, am I going to get it, am I doing the right thing? And once it's all over, it's such a sigh of relief, and you kind of realize, oh my god, this has been such a learning experience for me. So yeah, there's definitely intense parts to this for me, but freshers and campaigning, they're my two.
I was going to say, I think in terms of the role, there are varying levels of intensity throughout the academic year, and just sort of seeing you three develop and become so resilient to the intensity. So like, actually what you would have found intense sort of at the beginning of the year, now you're just like, I can deal with this, I've got it. Like, I'm not worried.
It's like
about
water off the duck's back.
Yeah, I'm not maybe I'm not worried about going to council, or like maybe I'm not worried about going to this big board meeting, because actually they're intense situations, but you become accustomed to that kind of etiquette and level of scrutiny and challenge. And actually I think the intensity of the role really allows for people to develop and sort of accelerate their career and accelerate themselves as humans.
I will definitely, I think you've said it, it's the role that's intense. I don't think we are outgoing Sams, and when we kind of move on, I am really not afraid. Like, any job can come at me, whether it's like up there or down there. I am just not afraid. Ask me that again in July though.
Yeah, I think definitely. I remember sort of when I first started and getting really nervous to even sort of go to my first sort of like academic board, or even sort of have a meeting with sort of like students and be responsible for perhaps sort of like signposting them, or giving them advice on a particular thing. But now that's second nature, and I think that's such an important skill to have. Firstly, just to have the ability and have the experience of learning to trust yourself, and having that belief too. I think this job does wonders for your self-esteem. And also you get sorry, Ash, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
I was going to say, and also you get really used to doing live streams and stuff like this all the time.
I'm not.
We'll get you there, Molly. Don't worry, we will get you there.
Can I ask you kind of what you probably miss the most about the role? It's probably not about nominations, is it? But off topic.
God, are you trying to make us cry, Molly?
I'll take this one if that's okay. And I think everyone will have. Oh, thank you, dear. Everyone will have different opinions, but in a way, I will miss the support and the security that this role has provided. It's given me 2 years for me to kind of grow personally and professionally in a very safe environment, and in a way, it's prepared me for what's to come. I don't know what it is, but whatever is to come. But I will always miss that feeling like of safety and feeling at home, in a sense. That's what I will definitely miss. And also all the different opportunities we just get to be a part of.
I think that's really lovely, because I was, and it segued into what I wanted to say. Like, once you nominate and you really become part of like a student union family, and I think this role, like nominating yourself when you're at this stage of application for the kind of for the election, it's so daunting, and you just feel so like not in that community, whereas the election process really helps build that sense of community. And myself and Mohammed are always here to sort of support you in that campaign. So like Mohammed said in the Q&A, actually we're your friendly faces to come to if things are really tough. We're going to do like our wellbeing drop-ins as well every day for candidates, to make sure that they're putting themselves first and not putting themselves in like a stressful situation. So the whole process from start to finish, you are cared for. And I've just segued in from Aisha's feeling safe. It really is a safe process, and it should be something that's exciting to take part in. So yeah. Oh,
Thank you, Mark. That
Thank
is
you.
so lovely.
that is really
Now
nice.
I really am going to cry.
Yeah, really emotional. Is there anything else that we sort of need to touch upon, actually, in terms of elections, and anything that you want to sort of share some wisdom?
I would definitely say don't hold back. Like, if it is something you're interested at least give it a go. I was quite nervous for having a full-time position in my second year because I didn't want an interruption. So I went for a part-time role in that year just to get a taste of what it's like. And that helped me in my final year, even though it's different being part-time and full-time. I still got the taste of what elections is about, what it's like being part of the students union, being more involved with it. So definitely do something.
Yeah, and I think for me, my reservations were, when I was running for my first year, was that I don't know, didn't like now it feels weird to say, but I didn't like the thought of sort of being so like front and center with everything, and for people sort of like knowing who I was. I think that was maybe especially because we'd have when we were able to sort of be on campus, we'd have those big posters, so everywhere you'd walk, there'd be someone who's seen your face on a building, and that to me seemed really daunting. However, I think if I could go back and sort of speak to myself then, I would sort of just say to myself that it's something firstly you'll get used to, and it's something that's not bad at all, because I think the greatest thing about this job is we do it because we care, and that's something to really be celebrated. So if you're watching this, if you're not watching this and watching this at a different time, and you do care, then go for it, because it's going to be so worth it in the end.
Definitely. I think that, again, I just touched on that, like Laura said, it's not it doesn't take a specific person to get involved in the elections, and you might feel shy, you might feel daunted, but actually if you've just got that little spark that really makes you want to make a change, it can really just accelerate your opportunities. And I think it's a really worthwhile opportunity. I think as well, if like we've got our outgoing execs speaking here, but actually every Thursday we've got some success stories about past execs and what they've achieved and how they've kind of springboard into their new career path. And I think that is something that is so important, that being an executive officer is really beneficial for kind of your next steps in your career development, and we are here to support you in that. So it is just really check out the stories and hear about some of the stuff that our past exec have achieved. I don't know if there's anything else to pick up on at the minute, but it's been really lovely answering your questions today. And again, if there is anything more that you'd like to know, please drop myself or Mohammed an email at voice@dmu.ac.uk. Thank you. See below. Drop us an email and we can answer any queries, or if you go to the website that is on the banner at the bottom, you'll be able to find some information about the job roles as well. But
Yeah, best of luck, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And panel, you are my favourite little bogies. I love you guys so much.
Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.